Men who view marriage negatively. Why? From experience. Married for 15 years. Always the breadwinner and treated her like royalty. Went through a traumatic accident that left me one-legged with reversible, for the most part, paralysis from the waist down. She left while I was recovering in the hospital because my earning potential was damaged and she didn't want to be bothered to provide support. Never again. I'm sorry for you. This hurt to read. It unnecessarily makes breaking up prohibitively expensive. Punitive tax increase and pension reduction for married double income couples in my country. Plus I don't like the legal strings that are attached to it. If I want to break up, I want it clean and not with a fight for my assets. We should stay together because we love each other, not because we are scared to get fucked in the divorce. I'd be less worried about assets and more worried about how alimony isn't capped in time or amount. It's pretty shitty. And my mom is engaged but won't marry the new guy because it will cut off her alimony from my dad. My mom has been with her broke boyfriend for about 5 years. He's almost entirely living off my dad and my mom won't remarry so that she can keep getting those alimony checks. Even after it was her cheating that caused the divorce. And people wonder why I choose to stay single. I watched my dad get absolutely railroaded in his divorce. She sold all his shit. The house, our dog, most of his clothes, and even lied about him hitting her, so he got arrested and lost his job as a result. She also got my grandma arrested after she came to her apartment in the middle of the night to taunt her. After she got my dad locked up, she ruined his good name and made us lose years of time we could have spent with him because he had to move to a more neutral state just to find a good job. People barely take commitment seriously anymore to the point where it's not worth the risk. Too many people get married for the title and don't wanna do the work. I also see too many people I know who are miserable and lonely even though they are married and have less sex than when they were single. Really defeats the purpose honestly. Your mom, stepmom, sounds like my mom. She fought tooth and nail in court for 5 years to finalize the divorce with my dad. We were well off upper middle class before my parents divorced, but after, we had nothing. My dad spent over $400k in lawyer fees fighting her. After it was finally over, he was depressed, and after the crash of '08, we couldn't even afford rent. Every accusation, including her lying about physical abuse, lying to the courts about her relationship with me, to which my dad got full custody, and more. I haven't spoken to her in 9 years and I'll never forgive her. She's an evil narcissist and she's now been married 4 times. I do not trust the court system to handle my breakups fairly. They don't. Yet nobody thinks they need repairing. Well, specifically half of people are very happy with how it works. The richest women in the world made their money from divorce. Millions collect alimony indefinitely after taking half of assets in the marriage. Doesn't alimony stop when the kid is 18? Why is it indefinitely? Nope. Alimony is separate from child support. It is based on the old belief that the man should support the woman until she can become financially independent. If he has supported her long enough, then it is forever. Experience. Married. Divorced 4 years later. Clean divorce. She paid for it and was an amicable split. That said, seeing people change and not willing to tough things out mentally and emotionally broke me. So, never again. Yeah. After a divorce, the idea has lost its luster for me. I knew her for 20 years. 8 of that actually being in the relationship. Was everything perfect? No. But we knew each other, and I thought we were a team until the revelation that the worst thing in her life was me, and there was no way for it to get better with me in the picture. How am I supposed to trust my heart to someone I've known for less time than that, and that failed? I'm married. 19 years last week, and I worry that I'm bringing her down. Though recently I think I have been doing better. The idea that you are never enough the way you are sucks. 50% chance of divorce, at least in my country. It costs too much. The symbolism is worth nothing. And the divorce that will follow will be much too long and without rest. 50% of divorce is not enough when there are no kids involved. Any divorce should be encouraged. I doubt that 50% of people are happy with their marriage. Being with someone you don't love is horrible and nobody should be forced to live like that. Absolutely. Divorce is such a huge waste of energy and time, especially when they have kids. A lot of guys almost don't see their kids after divorce because they go with the mom. And a lot of guy goes in depression because of it, and a lot of them kill themselves too. It's really awful and no one should experience this. Watching your parents fight over petty surely qualifies. I'm a woman, but this is the biggest thing for me. My parents are the last two people that should gotten married. Fight over every damn thing. Don't trust each other for you'd think after 30 plus years of marriage that you'd be able to trust your spouse with little things like how much money you have tucked away or how much you paid for something. But nope. Dad is a habitual cheater and has such little respect for her that he doesn't care to hide it. Mom is probably the naggiest woman in the universe. A positive thing comes out of her mouth maybe once a year. I'd be rich if I had $10 every time my dad has threatened divorce throughout the decades. Yet they are still miserably married. Neither of them had any business getting married or having kids. But goes to show, when you're a guy who thinks paying the bills qualifies you to cheat, maybe getting married to a religious woman after knowing her for 4 months isn't the greatest idea, or even getting married at all for that matter. Fear that it will end up like parents, who are together just for society's sake. Parents had a failed marriage, never found anyone worth marrying. Prospects in that regard are pretty grim, if the women where I'm currently living are any indication. I like how you broke it down into bullet points, LMAO. I'm amazed he was able to do it in only 3 bullet points. I would have had a lot more. Why involve the government in your relationship? I know, it literally makes no sense. Did you know that when your wife decides to F another man in your bed, and you catch her, and when you divorce her, and she gets your house, your kids, and half your shit, you're responsible for her lawyer's fees too? I'm not against marriage as a concept. It's beautiful. I'm against marriage because of what our legal system has turned it into. Wow, and here I thought I was the only one. I don't like gambling half of my current and future wealth on you deciding to F someone else in 15 years. This is the most realist ever. Punitive tax increase and pension reduction for married double income couples in my country. Plus I don't like the legal strings that are attached to it. If I want to break up, I want it clean and not with a fight for my assets. We should stay together because we love each other, not because we are scared to get fucked in the divorce. It's a stupid idea. Signing a contract with someone who can violate the contract and receive monetary rewards for doing so is a moronic idea. Worse, incentivized to break the contract. It's a rest deal. I once caught a friend of mine advising her friend on the phone to just leave him. You get the house, the kids, and he's got to pay child support. Why wouldn't you leave? When I confronted her about it, she just kind of shrugged. A wise man learns from his mistakes. A very wise man can also learn from others. I like the concept, I'm just not comfortable with the contract. I work in finance and my biggest clients happen to be divorced guys. I work with lots of lawyers, doctors, and CEOs making $250k plus who are essentially broke because they are paying out $4,000 monthly in alimony and lost their house, so they are subject to rent payments near their job. Seems like a scary deal. To work your whole life to achieve your dreams and then have to live like a bum because of your relationship. I've had several friends that have to move back in with a parent or sleep on a friend or family member's couch because they can't keep up with alimony and child support. There are more than enough cautionary tales out there. I was one of those kids who remembered stuff that every adult thinks they will forget and not affect them. My mother fought with my dad constantly. They were not just bickering, but I remember her being visibly angry, yelling at my dad, with nothing but anger and hatred in her voice. To make matters worse, my mom constantly tried to use me to try to manipulate my father when I was a kid. I can only imagine the hell that I'd put my father through, and I'd much rather not be on the receiving end if that. I've watched my dad pay for my mom's lifestyle and get regularly emotionally abused and taken advantage of. I'm in the US and I don't think I really need to explain why marriage isn't a good option out here. My dad isn't abused. My mom is an amazing woman. But even just watching them, the whole just do whatever the wife saves / shut up / sacrifice thing isn't just made up. I know people will say it's sexist or be upset at this comment, but I've seen marriages where the dudes just go through endless S and be the rock, while the wives put in the fair effort, but don't give their husbands credit and ask more than they receive. I just don't think I'd be happy with that. Then it'd get weird, and she'd surely leave or at least not have partner she deserves. Because my wife could F another man, divorce me to live with him, and get my kids, my house, half my money, and make me pay for her lawyers. Yep, and it happens all the time. Marriage is the worst investment I can think of. I'm still holding SBCE stocks. Amma. Oh dear. Nothing I could ask you would be of value. If I only looked at my own marriage and that of my parents, I would have an unreasonably rosy view of marriage. It's my observations of all the other relationships around me that has led me to realize that my own marriage and that of my parents is essentially a very unreasonable outlier in today's world. Let's just say that were I ever to become widowed, I'd likely just go my own way. I've come to realize just how rare and precious and healthy my current relationship is, and fully understand just how unlikely it is for lightning to ever strike a second time. Or in other words, my wife has already set too high a bar. The chances of me finding another woman even moderately comparable is statistically insignificant. There's nothing wrong with marriage. It's who you marry that matters. First marriage ended horribly. Current marriage bliss for 13 years now. Guaranteed the person you marry is not the same one you divorce. Why view it positively? I think people just take it for granted what a big, complex and lifelong decision it is. The fact that divorce rates are so high just tells me the idea doesn't work as well as we'd like it to. I'm wondering if the divorce rate is high because people get married before they really knew each other. Many parents, 40 plus, I know weren't allowed to live together before they weren't married. That's a big mistake in my opinion. Today the society is quite more open-minded in relationships, but also today some people are rushing to get married. I've read a lot of Reddit stories where couples married within 2 years or often quite less and then are divorced after 2 months. I don't see the point in that. All my 99 boyfriends before my husband were more exciting in some way, but didn't stick around. Why can't my husband be more like them and also take off for his own good? /s. Parents divorced at a young age. My father was a horrible partner and even worse role model. I see entirely too many sad cases of unhappy couples who got married because they thought that's how life was meant to go. My past relationships and discussing others with friends seem to end up with the woman not getting enough, whatever it may be, and find it elsewhere. Until it's not enough there either. Like a reoccurring pattern. Any long-lasting marriage I've seen, I always ask how they make it work. 8/10 times the guy will say something along the lines of you just have to be a yes man or happy wife happy life or listen. Never talk. It saddens me because I always thought I would be married with children. A little house full of love. And I'm slowly stepping away from that. This could be because I'm freshly single, but it just doesn't seem ideal anymore. To be fair, how many guys were forced to marry in the past because of social pressure, fully knowing they aren't voluntary husband material? Marriage is a beautiful idea and concept. The legality of the situation makes it an absolute double-edged sword that's slightly sharper. I don't get why I need a ceremony or a legally binding contract. If I want to live with a woman, I can just do that without marrying. And if I wanted to make a contract with her, we should write the contract and the terms together, not use an already made and defined contract with terms set by someone else. I don't view marriage negatively. In fact, it is a special relationship worth having. What I don't agree with is the family court system and how it skins men bare and heavily favors women regardless of what happened. Women cheats, she gets your property. Women gets knocked up and births a child that's not yours. You pay alimony cause you looked after it despite not knowing its bloodline. The law is fucked, and until it's changed, expect to see more and more men say no to marriage. Honestly, The more I read about marriage laws in the US, I'm not from US, the more head hurts when I see proposal videos on TikTok/YouTube. Lol. I went through the divorce as a main breadwinner, not typical for a female I guess, and never have I ever expected that I'd have to pay my lazy ex a certain amount in spouse support just because we were married and he wasn't doing anything with his life. Marriage is a massive legal contract with a lot of fine print that no one ever tells you about when you get hitched. Never again. Not in the US especially. On average it protects and benefits women, while actively disadvantaging men. Ex-wife made accusations of neglect and abuse of my children. Emotional abuse of her. One of her pieces of evidence was literally a zoomed in photo of a single aunt in my daughter's room. I defended myself with proof of infidelity, emotional abuse, threats of suicide, admissions of drug abuse, admissions of physically abusing me on multiple occasions, evidence of illegally eavesdropping on my private conversations. Guess who ended up homeless and had to fight like hell just to keep custody? Me. It was me. Sorry that happened to you, bro. You're inviting the state government into your relationship in the excuse of social conditioning. A lot of people do not really see a justified reason to validate their connection through legal documentation. I'm not totally opposed to the idea. It seems to work very well for a lot of people who have great partners who build each other up. But unfortunately I have a tendency to attract women who are complete train wrecks and completely irresponsible with work, money, paying for car insurance instead of junk, etc. Whereas I take such things pretty seriously. So combining my life with someone in such a binding legal and financial arrangement seems like a great way to ruin my life and everything I've worked hard building. You don't attract them, you keep choosing them.